Okay, so we will now talk about creating an arrangement for Joy to the World. Looking at my tuner over here, just need to shut it off. Um, and we're going to use this not only to create an arrangement, but to talk about how we can harmonize melodies. Uh, and how we can use different harmonizations like we talked about last time, the last lesson, we saw different chord changes that could be used. Well, now we're going to incorporate that idea. And I'm going to kind of break it down. Don't get bogged down in the simple theory of what I'm about to present. It's not really meant to be that much of a technical exercise as much as just helping you to have a little bit better insight into how we can put chords and melodies together in alternate ways. So when we look at Joy to the World, we have the first four notes of the melody, right? And you've probably played that till you're really tired of it. Now we know the first chord is G. So obviously we can take a G chord. You can play the full G with the second finger there. I always tend to leave it out. It's just something that I've always done. I kick out the A string. I think you know that about the way I play the G chord. Sometimes I use that B note, but not always. So what we can do here, obviously, is we have those first four notes. We can put the G chord, right? And we hear the lower portions of the G chord ringing while we play that melody. Then we get to the C note, and there we're going to change to a C chord. So we have and then we're up to the B note. Chord there is G, so we're going back to the G chord. And then the next note is A. And we're going to go to a D chord there with the F sharp in the bass. I prefer to use my thumb. And then we're back to the G chord again. Now here I am going to use the fuller G with the B. So going back to the beginning, we have the G, the C chord, back to the G, to the D, to the G. So let's go back and talk about that first measure a little bit more. So we have the G note and the G chord. Obviously, we can see that that makes perfect sense, that those would harmonize perfectly. And then we have the F sharp note, which really, if we were to isolate a G and an F sharp, that would create a dissonance. Here I have a G note. I'm going to stretch all the way over here and play the F sharp. If we play them together, we hear that that's dissonant. But when we put them in the context of the song, okay, I still have a G in the chord as a background to this F sharp note, but it doesn't sound as dissonant as this, does it? Why is that? Well, the main reason is that the G that the F sharp is being harmonized against is quite a ways from it. It's this open G string. Now if we just isolate that, we can still hear that dissonance. But when we add the other notes of the chord, it actually creates a very pleasant sound, doesn't it? And then we go to the E note, and then finally back to the D. Now the D note is in the G chord, so that's going to harmonize perfectly. So we start the song on a chord tone, we have two passing tones, and then we finally get back to a chord tone. When we get to the C chord, it's a C note against the C chord, perfect. We get to the next note, which is the B, which is a note that's in the G chord, so that's going to harmonize perfectly. Then we have the A note here going against the D chord. That's in the D chord, harmonizes perfectly. And finally, we end on a G. So if we put that all together, when we were just playing the melody, now we can go ahead and put the chords in. And there you have it. Now the next note is D, so we can hold on to that G chord and simply put our pinky on the D note. We get to the next measure, the melody note is E, and we're putting the C chord below that, picking another E. Next note is F sharp, 2nd fret high E string, chord is D. Another F sharp note, and then finally a G chord again, which is where it all started. So we have the C, another E, both chord tones, the D with the F sharp in the melody, once again a chord tone, and then finally the G. So we put that first line together. We have the D note, now we get to the next line, and we have a pickup note, we have that high G note, 3rd fret. So you notice I kept my finger on the G chord, and I'm going to keep my pinky on that high G note, and then I'm going to use my 1st and 2nd finger to grab that E minor. And then I'm going to bring my ring finger down to play that 2nd fret F sharp, go to a C chord, play the D note with my pinky, and then we get to the D chord with the F sharp and the bass. Once again, I'm going to leave my pinky right where it is, drop my middle finger down and add my thumb. You may prefer your 1st finger on that low F sharp, I use the thumb. Then from there, I pick the C note, 1st fret, and then back to the G chord. So going back to the beginning of that line, so we have the E minor, 2nd fret, C, pick the D note, leave the pinky there, 1st fret, G chord again. And that basically repeats in the next measure. High G with the pinky, to the E minor chord, C chord, pick the D note, and then we have a B. Okay, now I'm going to play from the beginning. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's look at how we're playing those chords. So we have that E minor. Now when you go from the E minor, you can leave that middle finger down, go to the C. See how that middle finger stayed there? And then when we get to the D chord, we leave the pinky down, back to the G, leave the pinky down, go to the E minor, play the F sharp note. As we go to the C, we leave that middle finger down, use the pinky to play the D, to the D chord. Okay, now we get to line 3, which is quite simple. We just have that G chord followed by that long group of notes. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. So then we go to the D chord. So I'm going to play it from the beginning of that line again. And we're still holding on to that D as we get into the next measure and play the B note to the A note. Then we drop to a 3-note C chord, play that high G, open E. Once again, back to the G chord. And then we have a series of 4 chords. C, G, D, G. Okay, I'm going to play it from the top now, a little quicker. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So there you go. There's our first harmonization in an arrangement form of Joy to the World. So give special attention to that second line, even maybe just practice playing those chords, the E minor to the C to the D to the G, and again the E minor to the C. So you really think about keeping that finger down there. You don't want your hand to be, that's probably the hardest part of this particular arrangement. So you really want to pay attention to keeping the motion through that series of chords very compact. E minor, C, D, G, E minor, C, G. Okay, so there you have it. Next we'll discuss an alternate harmonization of that particular song, so we can see how that will affect the sound, and just, realizing that that is something that you can do when creating arrangements, is to reharmonize the melody. Often there are many, many options. So you want to be aware of the possibility, and to whatever degree possible have an understanding of which chords work with which notes. And we'll maybe even talk about some harmonizations that are truly bizarre, just so you can see that every harmonization isn't necessarily a good idea, even though it might be possible. Okie doke. So we'll leave it at that for now. Have a good one.